Warp Type Wednesday.
Jay,
Yes.
Just got back from Florida.
Yeah, that's crazy, hey?
I was in Florida for Disney World and Universal Studios this week. So a quick 3-day excursion. It's technically for like our anniversary. 2 years, me and my wife, September 23rd. And for our honeymoon, we had gone to Disney World and Universal. So she booked a quick trip out there. So that's what I was doing this week.
Was it fun?
Oh yeah. I mean, I'll get into it. We certainly had a long weekend because on Saturday, which was our anniversary, our close friends actually also got married on the same day. So we went to
Oh,
their
that's
wedding
right.
and we were hanging out there, and it did rain a little bit on their weddings, unfortunately. And it would have been awesome if it didn't rain. It was all outdoors in the woods, and they had like picnic benches set up. They were gonna have like cornhole and like all these games, and there was like a food truck with grilled cheese, but
Nice.
it was raining, so everyone had to hang under the pavilion. And then after that, we went to like the ceremony, and that was in some tents, luckily. So we were out of the rain for that. But I was like, I can only imagine, if it didn't rain, it would have been 10 times better.
Did anybody bust out in an Alanis Morissette song?
No, but they did have a live band playing for the reception part. And the bride did sing a song she wrote for the groom.
Nice. They should
So
have said, "It's like rain on your wedding day."
I wonder if the DJ played that at all. We actually had to leave early because I had to go pick my daughter up last minute. One of my friends watched Gwen for us. So we picked Gwen up, came home, went to bed, and then got up, and we had to drop Gwen off at my wife's mom's house. And then we jumped on a plane and headed to Florida for Sunday was Universal Studios Horror Nights.
Yeah, was that pretty cool?
Yeah, I mean, we did it. We did it in the past. Like I said, we went for our honeymoon, so we were a little more prepared with this time because we ended up paying for the like speed passes for the haunted houses. There's 10 haunted houses you can go to, and it's quite a bit extra for the speed passes, but definitely worth it because some of the houses that they had. So they had the big houses were Stranger Things season 4 was a
Oh,
haunted house.
nice. Was that cool?
And oh yeah, I'll get into that one. The Last of Us was another themed one, and Chucky. And those at one point had almost like 80-minute waits.
Wow.
So it becomes very difficult to do all the haunted houses in that one night if you're
If you're
waiting.
waiting an hour and 20 minutes.
Right. Because the show does open, I think I want to say doors are at like 6:30 or 7. It's a different ticket to get. You could go to Universal during the day, but then they kick you out if you don't have passes for the horror night experience.
Right.
So it starts from 7 and it goes all the way to 2 a.m. We were there like
Wow.
2:30 in the morning going to
Wow.
haunted houses. And we had the fast passes, and then
So what's a fast pass wait?
maybe 15 minutes,
That's not bad.
20 minutes the top. And you're going through it and you see the sea of people of lines, and I'm like, I can't even imagine standing in line 80 minutes, like trying to stay
No way.
occupied and like um but then they also had little places you can go off to get like themed food. So they had like something that was like child's play related, and they had like these chicken tenders. It was like friends to the end chicken bites or
Oh,
something like that.
amazing.
And then they had what was really cool was the Last of Us themed. They had a couple um, food stations set up with like Fedra, so it had like the Firefly like logo on it, and they were doing. See if I could pull up some pictures to show you. It was all themed around mushrooms because of like fungi for the infection,
Yeah.
essentially. So we ended up grabbing these like mushroom like skewer type things. Um, let's see here. So it says food rations. It was called Twisted Taters is the name of the
That looks
food there.
amazing.
And cordyceps corn dog was the other one.
That's
But
funny.
we got the twisted taters. You could kind of see Steph biting down, and it was like
Ooh, those look
it was
good.
like a spirally, like thin cut, spiraled
Yeah.
up a stick of food. But I will say I did film as much as I can, and a lot of this will be going into my Halloween
Oh,
special
beautiful.
on my YouTube channel. Yeah, I did
I
try to film the haunted houses,
yeah,
but they actually don't let you. There's not supposed to be any film or photography in it. I had the GoPro all set up. I had like a chest mount,
you're
and we
ready
got up to the door, and they were like, "Oh, you got to turn the camera off."
because they
Um,
don't want any of that leaked.
well, because I was like, there's videos on YouTube right now with like walkthroughs. So either people one are sneaking it, but we did watch one guy's because Steph was like, "Oh, I watched this guy on YouTube." Like she recognized him at the park,
Oh,
and we
wow.
we checked, and he actually got a pass from Universal to be media, and they invited him down to film all the houses. So I think maybe when I do my special, I'll just include some of his footage, put a little credit, and be like, "This is what we saw." So
Right.
we just filmed ourselves like we would exit the haunted house and then kind of give our thoughts like oh we just got out of the Stranger Things haunted house, which it was based off of season 4. So they had Eddie in there, and a lot of the other characters there, so you would go through, and they did like the scene where Eddie and I'm gonna forget his name, Dustin, were like fighting off the horde of bats like coming,
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
and like that looked really cool. Um, and they even have a bunch of like Vecna popping up out of it to scare you.
So, do you have a definitive favorite of what you thought was the coolest while you were there?
Pro I would we saved it for last. I think The Last of Us was done really well. Um, they used a lot of the like voice samples
Okay.
from like either the game or the show. So you hear Joel's voice and Ellie's voice, and just the way they set it up. That one, and I will say there was another one called what was it called? Big Yeti or something Yeti, where they have like the Yeti monsters in there. And
That's amazing.
certain spots they actually pump like a certain smell.
Yeah,
Like
because they say Yetis have, like, a real distinct smell, like a musk.
right, and I was like, "Wow, that's something," like, really gives you the immersion in there.
Yeah.
Exorcist was another big
Ooh,
one. There's a
I
new
would have passed
Exorcist
on
coming
that.
out,
I would have
and I was
passed
like,
on that.
"Oh." So
Not
we
a
we hit,
not a
I think,
fan.
8 of the houses out of the 10, and we missed there was one with all the Universal monsters, and then there was one called Dueling Dragons where you go into the haunted house, and there's actually, like, branching paths that you choose.
Hmm.
But we didn't get to go to that one because it's a lot of time, walking around, grabbing some of the food, and then they also had like a live show,
Yeah.
which I think there was either 3 or 4 of them, and we stood in line the first time, and then it got to capacity, so we couldn't go. So we had to wait, and we came back at like 11 o'clock and got in, and it's basically like a dance number show, but they're using like pyrotechnics and fire, and like everyone's kind of like dressed erotically, I guess.
Erotic
Yeah,
erotic
like a
dancers.
lot of leather,
Fair
and there's
enough.
like metal music going on. But yeah, it was a really good show, and
Little S&M.
basically, but I will say I was freaking hot. I did wear pants and like a t-shirt, but I was
Oh, because
still
didn't
like
you dress up?
so I did bring I bought like pajamas that were skeleton themed,
Right.
which I was gonna wear to Disney the next night. So I was like, when I go to Universal, I have like a Frankenstein's monster t-shirt I'll wear, and then just pants. But I definitely wish I had shorts on. I was like getting hot. I was like rolling them up.
It
So
was
I
pretty hot down in
yeah, it
Florida, I
was
guess.
steamy, and I was grateful when we got into the haunted house. It was air conditioned inside there, so you got a little break from the heat. But it's a ton of walking around, and like I said, the park's open till 2 a.m. So you could still even go over to Hogwarts area
Nice.
and hang out there for a little bit, and then Simpsons is open, so you can still
Nice.
play games and go on some of the rides. But we were freaking exhausted. I ended up picking up a cool T-shirt and a drinking glass
Oh,
as
cool.
well. So I'll end up showing those off. But I did take a picture of the glass. It was a Last of Us themed glass. and it has like one of the monsters with like the cordyceps on them.
So I
So
don't know anything about Last of Us.
yeah, I mean it's like zombie apocalypse type thing. It was a game, and then now it's a TV show that you could watch on Netflix.
Oh, sweet. Maybe I will
So
then.
so that was a big one. It has I can't remember the actor's name, but whoever also played the Mandalorian in the Mandalorian.
Oh, the bounty hunter.
Right. So
Okay.
he's in that, and he was in obviously a few other movies. People are gonna be yelling at me. It's so and so.
It's what's his name? I don't know
What's
his
his
name
name?
either. It's
But
Boba Fett.
Boba Fett. No, Boba Fett's another guy.
It's something Fett.
Um, so that was Sunday night. So then, I mean, we got home, 3:30. Well, to the hotel that late. So we crashed and got up. I think at like 10, 11
Yeah,
a.m.
after a night like that, you need to sleep in a bit.
So we broke it up. So the second day was just a relaxing day. So we went to the pool, hung out, and then took a bus to Disney Springs,
Yeah,
which is
okay.
just like shopping area. And we hung out there, and we ended up getting some lunch, gone back to the hotel for a few hours, and then went back and actually went to the movies to see a Haunting in Venice,
Okay.
which is I don't want to say it's like a sequel, but it follows the same detective as there was a movie called I think Murder on the Nile, and there was like another one, but he's like this very smart detective, and it's takes place back in the whatever 1600s or back in the
Interesting.
day. And it was super cool. They had like a bunch of jump scares, and then he kind of breaks down how certain things aren't supernatural, and he's trying to solve the case of who got murdered. And
It's
so
like
that
Scooby Doo.
yeah, so that was a good one. And then we ended up going on Tuesday was Magic Kingdom. We had tickets for the Mickey's Not So Scary Halloween Party, which again, it's a separate ticket. So if you went to Magic Kingdom during the day, that's a separate ticket. And then at 6 o'clock, they kick everyone out and this party starts. So we only had tickets for this. So we showed up. They let you line up at 4 o'clock, but they said so many people come then, just come a little bit later. So I think we got there at like 5, got in, and you get a little trick or treat bag,
Nice.
and certain things have like a Halloween overlay on them, certain rides and things are themed. And what was it? We watched there was a quick show at the castle where they have the Sanderson sisters from Hocus Pocus come out
Okay.
and do a little like little speech thing,
Do
a
some
little bit of
witchcraft.
fireworks, a little witchcraft. Um, and again, oh, like you said, I was gonna come dressed up, but I'm like, it's so freaking hot. Like I just wore shorts and I had my Russ Lyman zombie t-shirt on,
Nice.
and I
That's
had
cool.
a black cap just like this. It's all black, but it has Jack Skellington's like face on it.
Did anybody recognize you down there?
No,
Was
there
anybody like,
was
Russ, what you doing?
I know. One of the cast members was like, "I'm trying to figure out your shirt. Like, what is it?" And I was like, "Oh, it's me. Like, I made it for a Halloween special, and so this is me as a zombie." And he's like, "Oh, it's pretty cool."
Sweet.
Um, but so we watched that first show. No more 10 minutes after that, downpours, pouring rain. We were like, "Oh my god!" So we ended up finding like a store to go in and hang out.
How long did
Uh,
it last? Like 30 minutes?
It was a while.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it was like we're looking on the app, it's like 100% chance of rain. We're like, "Ugh."
Son of a
Um,
bee.
so we did get into the queue at 6 o'clock, the virtual queue you can jump into for the new Tron ride. And we got into it, and I was like, "Okay, well, let's head to Tron." I don't think they're canceling the ride because it's still going. And we ended up having to buy ponchos
Oh, I hate when
just
that
because I'm
happens.
like, "Nope, we're gonna get soaked if we don't have a poncho." So Disney sure was happy. They probably made an extra 10 grand in ponchos.
I'm sure.
So we walk over to Tron, and we were able to get right on right away. They had the virtual queue line and no one was in it. And it's pretty sweet. It's like a light cycle. You like hold the bars and sit down like you're literally on the light cycle.
Is
And
it
it
2 per thing or 1 per?
yeah, yeah, I'm pretty sure we're side by side. I took some video.
Sounds amazing.
and it takes off so fast. I was like, "Oh my
Do you feel
god,
like you're about to fall off of it?
almost." But
Do you have, like,
they
a seatbelt or something locking you in?
no, so how it works is you're holding the bars, and so, like, you're reaching out like this, and you pull the bars closer to you, which closes it like a thing on your back, like, clamps down, so you're, like,
Okay, so it
clamped
squishes you
in.
in.
Right, basically like that, and you're, like, on a bike, and then you go
Did you feel like
zipping.
the like you're on a speeder bike from Star Wars?
Similar, I mean, it feel like you're on a light cycle from Tron. It's a little
Oh,
different.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah. The speeder bikes are more like a motorcycle, I would
Right.
say, like, lean back. With the Tron bikes, you're heavily leaned forward. But I took, like, a slow motion video. Where was it? Was it here? I could show that if you guys see it, if you guys are watching. Yeah, it's side by side,
Oh,
and
yeah,
they
yeah,
go
yeah, yeah.
and they
Oh, I
all
see
light
your
up.
wheels. They all have, like, wheels.
Right, and they all light up, and this, this part of the track goes outside so people can see,
Yeah, I was about to ask, it looks like it's outside there.
but it's so that big dome's covering everything, so we weren't getting rained on or anything.
That's sick.
But it goes, inside, and it's completely black, and then it starts lighting up with the neons, and then they have, like, another light cycle that's orange, like, following
Like,
you.
following you, like, through the whole
It's only, I think, a minute for the ride, but it's freaking intense, and I was like, "Oh my god, I wanna go again," like, so
it
bad,
was
but
so rad.
I was like, "This is great," like, loved it, but it's technically not open, so that's why this was like you got into the virtual queue, and you could only ride it once with that. So I was
Ah,
like, "Okay," but we went to the store, and all the merch were there was, like, awesome, so I ended up picking up a T-shirt, but they had, you could get the identity disc, they had backpacks, helmets, the whole 9. I was like, I can't be spending, thousands of dollars on merch in here. So
that
I was like,
sounds so
I'll
cool,
get
though.
one thing." But then we ended up going to eat. So they had themed food at certain restaurants. So we ended up going to, what was it called? Uh, s- Billy, Billy something, s- Billy Ray's, or I don't even know. Let's see. What was this? This is the food we ended up getting.
What was it involving?
So did I take a picture of the
God, I'm
menu?
so hungry right now, Russ, and you keep showing me food.
So they had, terrifying twice spiced chicken sandwich, zombie fingers, the snarling sub, which is a meatball sub, and then River Styx Elixir, which was a kiwi lemonade
Sounds
drink there.
amazing.
So we ended up getting, well, everything but the sub. We both got the chicken sandwiches and the zombie fingers. Yeah, it was freaking, that was good. That hit the spot, and it finally, like, subsided with the rain slightly enough. So we ended up walking over and doing some rides. We went on to Thunder Mountain.
Cool.
Got a lot of the rides, because a lot of people weren't doing the rides, were short. Like, it was like a 20-minute wait on that, and then people were watching the parade. So they had special characters that would come out for the parade that you normally don't see during the year.
Gotcha, like
So I was
Halloween
like,
characters.
right. And then again, they would have certain shows, like, on the castle itself, and Jack Skellington would come out, or they would have all the evil people. Here's Captain Hook. Here's Ursula. Here's Cruella Deville. So it was certainly themed, but again, that rain just kept coming on and off. So we'd have to put the ponchos on, walk around a little bit, take the ponchos off.
Wow. Should have put a real damper on your day.
Right. But we had said, we both discussed, like, well, rather have it rain while we were at Disney than Universal. I felt like Universal, we were walking around a lot, and then you're standing in line mostly outside
Right.
to get into the haunted house. I couldn't even imagine being at Universal that night.
Mm-mm.
But we stayed till, I think, 12. They were
Wow, you
open
stayed pretty
till,
late. So were your, like, clothes soaked by the time you left, or were the ponchos doing their job pretty
yeah,
well?
pretty good. Like, my shorts were a little bit soaked, but we stayed somewhat. My shoes, on the other hand, though, the socks ended up
Oh,
for a scan. Some of the puddles are just too deep. I was wearing Vessies,
I
which are
don't even
supposed to
know
be
what that
water.
is.
Those are, like, if you watch YouTube videos and they get sponsored, they're a sponsor on some YouTube videos, and they sell, like, water resistant shoes.
Well, they
So
need
I
to do better. Send
so
Russ a free pair because your shoes suck, Vessi.
But yeah, so that was good, and we got back, and today we ended up flying home. Our flight left at 11 a.m., got in at 3, and I was dumping all my footage. We're doing laundry and getting all set up. Hopefully, I'm gonna edit a video tomorrow to have up on the channel. But yeah, I was super excited for the trip. Again, I'm gonna post most of it into my Halloween special coming out later in October.
Sweet. I have no Halloween special, but
Me-
you can go back and watch the one and only episode of the Saturday Super Show that I ever put out like 2 years ago. I had this grandeur idea of this show, and it would have been amazing. I feel like, at least for me. I got one video done and never did another one. But you can go watch it. It is Halloween themed.
Oh,
The
for that,
Saturday
yes,
Super
because
Show.
you did so the to elaborate more, because Jay approached me about it. Basically, he wanted to do have different segments where you would review a serial,
That's right.
a TV show,
Yep. Like
and
a
like
cartoon,
or a cartoon, and then like maybe a
a
toy
toy. Yeah.
that could almost be all themes. So like Ghostbuster cereal, Ghostbuster cartoon, and toy,
Yep.
and kind of change that up every week. Because that's what you would do.
I think I was gonna do it monthly, once a month or bi-monthly.
Yeah, I mean, I can see that being do this way. You wouldn't burn out of all the episodes quickly.
Right.
But I mean, bringing back nostalgia of like Saturday morning, what would you do? Get up early, get some cereal, watch cartoons, and play with your toys.
Play with your toys, exactly. That was the that you remember it totally, Russ.
Yeah,
That was the whole gist of it.
I mean, I have so many ideas of like these fun shows, but again, I think me and Jay both suffer from have cool ideas, do the execution, and then they don't really pick up too much traction. And if you don't get a ton of views on it, it's like, am I going to put all this effort in to then not have a ton of people essentially watching it, I guess?
Well, I will say in Russ's defense, if I was Russ, you probably would have got more than one episode. You probably at least would have got 6 to 8.
Right,
Because
right.
Russ is more efficient at getting videos out than I, clearly. However, I've toyed around with making another one day. We'll just see. The first step is to get this room straight. After that, you can't see below my waist, but if you could, it's a disaster down.
Well, it's all
That's all I'll
about
say about that.
cleaning when you can and situating it. It depends how you want to, divide your day up. If you get home from work and you're like, I'm going to have an hour of free time, where do you want to devote that to? Cleaning a room,
It's
shooting a
usually
video, or
laundry, kids'
right,
homework, dishes, dinner, bath time, bed. And then on
repeat.
Wednesdays or Thursdays, depending on the day, I'm here with Russ.
That's it. Yeah, it's certainly tough to keep up the schedule. I'm so glad we can switch it up here and there so we could keep the podcast going so we
Let's
don't miss
keep it
any
rolling.
episodes. I will say if you guys want to call into the show, let us know how we're doing or leave us some topics. We got a phone number. It's 949-682-9277. 949-682 warp. Or you could just check out the website. That's easy to remember. Theweeklywarpipe.com. Or you could pick up a mug like Jay's showing off.
It's a great mug. I love this mug. I have magnets downstairs too.
Nice. All the goodies. And we do want to do a quick shout out to our Patreons to help support the show. We got Dan Nichols, Treasures Untold, Joe Sheevy, Trace Lemongood, Samantha Chang, Rodney Torres, Retroholic 16. So thank you much for your support and letting us continue to do this show and all the shows on my channel
That's right.
or multiple channels rather. Keeping it busy. Anything I basically talked this whole episode. Anything else happen with you, Jay? How's work going? Did you hurt yourself or
So the only thing that I didn't get to bring up that I wanted to bring up is I started listening to podcasts because I've noticed that podcasts don't destroy my phone battery like the way that YouTube does. I guess because there's
okay.
no video, it's just the
Right.
audio. So I started listening to Crime Junkie,
Crime
and
junkie. Okay.
it's just basically like these two girls, and all they do is talk about either unsolved like kidnappings or murders, and it's entertaining, but I feel guilty for the fact that I'm entertained by these stories, even though I know these stories are important because sometimes it helps public awareness and it helps them get solved. Like this person might have seen something and then
Mhm.
they report it back, but which is good. But at the same time, I'm being entertained by a story of someone's demise.
Right,
So
I
then I
can see
feel
that.
a little guilty about, that part of it.
Gotcha.
So because it's like they're real. I mean, these destroyed families.
Yeah, it's
So
it's tough to, it hits home, or that reality of, like, this actually happened. These aren't
yeah,
made up people.
this is a real story. This really happened. So I kind of like I'll listen to a couple episodes and I'm like, all right, I need to like listen to something else. So I'll listen to like a pop punk podcast
Mhm.
or either like weekly Warp Pipe or Warp Pipe Wednesday or just something different, or a hockey podcast. But I always find myself coming back to it because they are very intriguing, like these stories.
Right, I feel like with that, it's a lot of, you wanna know what happens next, so they keep you, hooked,
Yeah,
essentially, because something like that being a long story, certainly, maybe they can't wrap it up in one episode, so they have multiple episodes of the same
yeah.
situation or whatever.
Most of them get wrapped up, and then every now and again, you'll see later that like that story has been resolved. Like this one case I listened to today about this 8-year-old girl. Like it took 30 years, and it was crazy because this podcast came out in like this episode came out in March, and it just so happened that like July, just like 4 months later, this dude of 30 years who they were talking about just 4 months prior finally got like it finally got solved. They caught this dude, and I don't know if it was because of the podcast and bringing
Right,
awareness
right.
to it,
Mhm.
or if it was just pure coincidence. But I thought that was crazy.
Nice. Yeah, at least some resolvement.
So there you go. But that's what I've been doing this week.
Sounds good. Staying cool too, hopefully.
Oh yeah,
Well, we appreciate you guys checking out this podcast. If you guys enjoy coming back, we got new episodes every Wednesday for Warpipe Wednesday, or we have our other series, the weekly Warpipe, every Saturday at 7 a.m. Where you can catch me and Jay doing what we love doing.
hanging out and chatting.
That's it. All right, guys, as always, I'm Russ Lyman. Keep your world fun bit by bit.